It happens.
Nope, we're going.
We're going. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the Side C Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Martinez. I'm joined by Eric Nesbitt, a.k.a. Nez, and the pride of Barstow, Jake Turner. He tells me to say it, so I got to say it. And today we have a guest. We'll jump right into that in a second, but I wanna bring on our gracious host here real quick before we pay the bills. We are recording here at the Skeleton Key right here in good old Rock Island, and Brandy Vanderwall is joining us today. She's being so gracious to let us record here. So, Brandy and John, you run the Skeleton Key here, and before I do that, 520 18th Street in Rock Island, and where are we at exactly? What are we doing?
We are downtown right off the district.
Uh-huh.
We are in the old Whelan Presley Funeral Home for people who remember back what it used to be.
Yes, that is pretty metal. We're broadcasting from an old funeral home, so that's pretty cool. So, what kind of? I already see something we like over here, Matt. What's it called again? The
My Buddy doll.
The My Buddy doll.
Yeah.
That should be our mascot.
It's kind of creeptastic.
Is it? Is it? And I know you also wanted the skeleton.
The skeleton, yes.
That is your mascot?
That's Sadie.
Sadie,
Yeah.
okay.
She belongs to one of our vendors. He brought her in, and we decided quickly we could have a whole lot of fun.
yeah.
The skeleton hanging around.
I bet a lot of people are probably just like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? So because it is called the Skeleton Key here in Rock Island. So again, thanks for having us. I know this is a little bit of you guys. Your hours vary. We're also on Facebook, right? With the Skeleton Key.
We are. We're open Wednesday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturday, 10 to 5, and Sunday, 12 to 4.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us. Like I said,
Thanks
we
for coming.
really appreciate it. I'm going to have a nice look around after, if you don't mind, because there's a lot of cool things here in the shop. So
Sounds good. Okay, you boys have fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Woo. Yes, so again, that's 520 18th Street, Rock Island. The number's 309-314-1567 if you want to give them a call and kind of find those hours out again, or like I said, on Facebook. Thank you. So, and now to pay the bills, actually, remember Rolling Smoke Barbecue, right? 1228. Excuse me, there it is.
There, about time.
The burp. 1228 30th Street in Rock Island, Illinois, up kind of by the PepsiCo Center, if you're familiar with the area. The number there is 563-265-7571. Make sure you guys go up there. They got great burgers. They got great ribs. They hooked us up last time we were there, and we're hoping to come back. The Lucifuge burger, we're always pushing for it, right, Nez?
I discussed this with Mitch just briefly last night, and he said he's going to make an attempt to do something similar to the Lucifuge burger.
Yes.
But he doesn't want to make it a total ripoff of what's already been originated.
Gotcha. So, well, maybe it'll be the Side C burger.
And we know that our buddy Mitch is not a
Demon Sweat Burger?
Yeah, Demon Sweat, yeah.
He is no conformist at all.
Yes,
No.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, but that's Rolling Smoke Barbecue, and
Before we
Sure.
leave Mitchell for a second, he did notify everybody he was having his smoker worked on this week, and he was down in Ass Rape, Missouri.
that's really.
Yes.
Yes, Ass Rape, Missouri.
All right,
Yes.
well, I'm gonna be sure never to visit there ever again. So
Missouri's a scary place.
it is, but there's fireworks there, so I'm okay with that.
All right.
Also, the pool man himself, Mark Reedy, for all your above and below ground pool needs. Thank you. Make sure to call Mark Reedy 309-292-8486 and. Make sure he's going to be busy this upcoming season. I know there's a lot of pools that need to go up and go down, if you know what I mean. So make sure you give him a call, and all this will be on our Facebook page at the Quad City Music Fans, Collectors, and Traders.
Music lovers, Quad City
lovers,
music lovers, collectors, and traders. We do this every
I know.
freaking week.
And I'm trying because I was fixing the email and the YouTube page. Actually, if you noticed, I did update the profile. It doesn't say Victor Martinez anymore. It says Side C Podcast, and there's actually a description of it on there. So go check it out. Make sure you check out all the past videos and the newest one, episode 7. And then you're obviously listening to this one, so thanks for the listens and the views. Make sure you guys go check out our sponsors. At the end of the show, we'll finally announce the thing you've probably been seeing shared by Jake and Nez and me throughout the week, but we'll talk about that later. But right now, let's get to our guest, Matt. Wilkins, of course. So thanks for joining us,
Thank
man.
you, sir.
So very glad to be here. Thank you.
You know, I gotta say, you and your brother are one of the more active ones on the group, and we
Yeah.
really appreciate things like that because you guys bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, we are huge musicians and fans of music and everything like that. So music is a big part of our lives. It always has been. So for us, it was a no-brainer.
And it was Creedence in your father. That's what got you guys tuned into music. Is that correct?
Oh, it was everything. My dad was a huge fan of all kinds of type of music. Dad listened to Creedence. Dad listened to Otis Redding. Dad listened to.
yeah.
He listened to all kinds of stuff, but mostly it was that classic rock vibe that really got us started. This would bring me to my pick for the week. I don't know. We just go into that, or what do you want to?
We'll get to that here in
Sure.
a second, but yeah, man. I mean, essentially that is what we are. We are just fans of music that are brought together by different things. I know that we recently I'm so nervous. I'm sorry, but you went through a loss with your father. But we know that's why you joined the page and you shared
Yeah,
that
for sure.
your love.
That was one of the great things too, because when we met with the mortician, he said, "Well, we could play some classical music during your dad's wake," and I'm like, "Oh, hold on a second, that's not who my dad was."
Right.
So I was like, "I'll take care of the music. You guys just worry about
Yes.
everything else." And I played Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne,
man.
Creedence, The Who. I mean, we played all kinds
So
of
you
music.
guys hooked him up.
Yeah,
with it.
for sure.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
that's what he would have wanted. So,
Yeah. Well,
and he
good.
was buried in his Packers sweatshirt and his Yankees hat.
Gotcha. Well, hey,
so-
there you go, man. You guys, that's awesome. But like I said, we're not just a group. I think we're kind of developing into like a little bit of a weird like bro brother type
brotherhood
gang.
type of thing going on.
It's
yeah.
more like who's gonna punch the next person in the nuts first.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Scrub Squad.
Yeah,
There's a lot of punchiness going on.
So
over there.
and
That's
it's
good though.
It's cool because a lot of the interactions we're seeing on the page is really fun. And like I said, you guys post frequently, so thanks for doing that.
You're very welcome. Like I said, I'm glad that you guys did this. It's
man.
really cool. It makes Facebook worth a damn
Yeah.
because before it hasn't been really much of anything. So
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Well, thank you, man.
Well, I had a really interesting thing to add on to this is that I believe it's Tim Krupps who joined the page.
Yeah, I just saw him.
He's been on the page maybe about a week or so, and he's been very active. And he's been very active being a part of it. Loves being on the page and whatever else. But it was the funniest thing the other day. He sent me a message, or maybe he just sent a comment on Facebook. He's like, I just got to know, I'm part of this group, but where is the Quad Cities?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It was a comment he left.
And he's like, well, I'm from Birmingham, England. We're like, we are getting
Yeah.
more international all the time.
Yeah.
So how cool is that?
So did you
Yeah.
have to explain
Yeah,
on this
yes,
river?
yes,
that,
and he,
it's pretty dirty?
he totally understood exactly, with his geography, he totally
Yeah.
understood where we were. where we were at.
My brother Aaron Wilkins just posted on the page that he's got another guy from England that is
Yeah, I just saw that.
just joined the
Yeah, I
page
just
too.
saw that,
So
yeah.
Cool, man.
yeah,
We got people from Belgium on there.
Yep.
I saw that.
Brazil.
We had invited
Milan, Illinois.
Milan, yeah.
Well, the nice thing about it is that what I've been doing with the page is I've been stealing members from other interest groups like 80s metal interest group, VH1 classic interest group, that metal show interest group.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, come join our page. We're a lot funner than this
Yeah.
page over
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
Right.
And we
You
try
know?
to interact more.
Yeah, and we're very interactive.
Yes, I
And
know.
it's fun.
Yeah,
is.
it
I
really
enjoy
is.
I do have to apologize for the time I said that Paul Di'Anno from formerly of Iron Maiden was dead. He's not, and I was pretty sure he was, but
He's been close.
yeah, I think he's real darn close. But,
Probably. His nose got so many holes in it. So, again, it brings us back to this nice little show we got going. Just a bunch of music fans that love talking music. So let's jump right into it, man. We got some news first up, and I know, I just saw that Faith No More played their big comeback this year. I know they had a show in Chicago recently, and my buddy had to give up his tickets, but they just performed on TV and over the first time in like 20 years. So, and regardless whether it's the new ones or not, I think a lot of the fans were like ready to see something new from them. So they were on. I think they sang one of their new songs off of their Soul Invictus album coming up. So that'll be an interesting listen. you
Faith
think?
No More is not Faith No More without Big Jim Martin.
So it's Faith No More. literally.
You're right.
It's-
No more faith.
Yeah, no more Faith.
The hardcore Faith No More fans say
Yeah.
Faith No More was done when Chuck Mosley left and Mike Patton took over on vocals.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously that's not true, but with Jim Martin not playing guitar on the, it's just not the same.
did he-
The music got very Mr. Bungle-ish, like after Angel Dust. So, that's all I have to say about that.
Like I said, I think a lot of the fans are probably just like, oh, and maybe the newer kids are like, oh, it's so awesome, but who knows? It's worth a mention though. So, speaking worth of mention, I know Nez isn't a fan of this one, but I just gotta say, the proctologist Dr. Kanye West, he just got a doctorate from the Chicago Art Institute. So, how do you guys feel about this? Do you think he's gonna get really anal about things? Or what do you think?
I want to know if he gave a speech and if somebody interrupted him.
He probably, I don't know.
I hope so.
Nez, what do you think about Kanye West getting a doctorate?
I've spent my whole life educating myself. And I'd like to say that I'm a fairly educated man.
Yes.
And honorary PhDs are basically a newspaper in the recycle bin. So they mean absolutely nothing because you had to do nothing
There you go,
to
right?
earn it. So there you go. That's what I
Hey,
think
man,
about
but like I said, that's why he's a doctor in proctology.
it. Now, if some university wanted to give me an honorary PhD, I would accept it. I
But the
would
thing
wipe
is,
my...
I mean, how is that going to work when you put it on your resume? It's honorary. It's not, I mean, I didn't do any work.
Yeah.
for it.
I'm Dr. Kanye West.
I think really honestly what an honorary PhD really equates to is you going to a commencement. You're a big name. You go to a commencement
Yeah.
and make a speech.
Yeah,
Brings
That's what
in
it
money
is.
to the school.
But
Right.
regardless, he is the honorary Dr. West. So, Jake, I think you got probably the best news. Of the
Oh,
week,
yeah,
It's
yeah,
kinda
yeah.
interesting.
For those of you who don't know, Duff McKagan is actually a very well-educated man himself, and he's actually going to be helping Alice in Chains write their bio. I don't know. I'm guessing it's just going to be Jerry Cantrell doing most of the putting together. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Obviously.
we all know that it wasn't Lane Staley necessarily that was Alice in Chains. It's Jerry
Right.
Cantrell
Yeah.
that's Alice in Chains.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I don't want to offend anybody, but
No.
really, honestly, that's what we've
No,
really
that's
found
completely
out.
true.
Yeah.
I was one of those hardcore purists that when he died, so did Alice in Chains. As far as I was
Yeah.
concerned, I was not a fan of the new album. I caught a lot of hell for that, but I didn't like it.
you know,
No, sir, I didn't like it.
there's one thing I will say though. That dude sounds like Lane Staley a
Oh,
lot.
what's the name?
William Duvall.
Yeah.
Yes.
William Duvall, yeah. You got to see them recently.
Yeah,
right?
I went
new
to go see him at the
incarnation.
Adler last May, and
How was it?
well, here's the equation. All this is that Van Halen
Yep.
does not sound like Van Halen without Michael Anthony.
No.
Alice in Chains would not sound like Alice in Chains if Jerry Cantrell was not in the band.
Right.
He has
Okay.
a lot. He does a lot of that backing vocals. A lot of people don't really know about. They all think it's Lane.
And maybe
No,
did-
he really does. You can tell the difference if you listen to Facelift. I mean, you can definitely tell the difference between who's singing what. My thing is, when I was a young whippersnapper and I was doing my grunge thing,
Yes.
I totally ripped off Lane Staley's entire look.
Okay.
So I had such a gay crush on him when I was back in the day,
Gay man
and so
crush,
for me, it was devastating when he died. So I maybe I never gave that new band a shot,
Yeah.
but that's just me. I mean,
So have you not listened to the?
I heard what was on the radio.
Oh, that's not a fair
and so
assessment.
I was, I will stick to Boggy Depot, Jerry Cantrell's solo album, which was awesome.
Awesome.
It is
Yeah.
awesome.
And that's as close as I'll get to it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just my
And the
thing.
other solo, I can't think of it. I own both the solo albums. I can't think of the other one with a hand. It's
Yeah.
I
Yep.
can't remember. But anyway, that's I think the better of the two actually myself.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah. That
well,
one
that's
is
got Mike
pretty good.
Borden on drums.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
got
You're gonna-
on bass from Metallica, the new guy.
Robert
Trujillo.
Trujillo.
Yeah, well, that's the three of them. It's a trio.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah, so it was very impressive. It's the better of the two, actually. So, when I saw them at the Adler, they were spot on. It was probably, and I've been to a lot of shows, but it was ranked right up there in probably top 5 in noise. I mean, I walked out there going, I can't hear you, Jeff. I went with Jeff Untied.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't hear what you're saying to me right now. As we're
Right,
walking
right
through the
next to
River
him.
Center concourse,
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. They played great. And one thing I think people don't really realize about William Duvall himself is that very accomplished lead guitarist.
Oh, yes.
He took a lot of the lead guitar play away from Jerry Cantrell, so Jerry Cantrell could focus on vocals himself.
Right.
So
He's got a great voice. I saw them on a live. I don't remember what the Download Festival, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I saw them, and he's got a great voice. It's just like I said, I
I understand what you're saying. No, like the whole,
Purist,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know, that's all a lot of us are. So, but again, I don't mind expanding and listening into different things. Like, you know, when I was, you know, I'm not an old guy. I'm not quite. When Van Halen, I was very David Lee Roth. Like, yeah, nobody's ever gonna take him over. And then like I discovered the Sammy Hagar stuff. I was like, I used to be like, oh, forget Sammy Hagar. Oh, Gary Sharon's just a one-time deal. I actually don't hate on it as much as I used to, but I would still prefer the David Lee Roth performance.
Am I the only one who thinks Gary Sharon is one of the worst vocalists ever?
I
guy's
don't
terrible.
care. I don't.
It was not a
honestly,
Van
I don't
Halen
mind.
album. When Gary Strong,
right.
it was not.
Extreme
That
shouldn't
was
have been an
Extra thing.
it should have. Oh, it's terrible.
I heard her making a new record too.
That's
I could have swore I just I just read something.
Yeah.
It just popped in my head.
It's bad when the guitar player sings better than you. I mean, I'm sorry. More than words, Nuno Betancourt is kicking his ass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean,
Did you see that? Oh yeah, Jimmy Fallon did like a parody of that.
oh, that was great with Jack
Jack
Black.
Black. Yeah, that was fantastic. So, that was when did we do that one? A couple episodes ago. When we did the alternate lead singers.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's my
Rolling
pick,
Smoke
so-
Show.
yeah, Gary Strong, the Van Halen 3 album.
Rolling
Yeah.
Smoke Show.
So, are we gonna go into this now?
We will go into this because the topic this week was pick of the week. So
Yep.
we're basically gonna kind of just go into what we were feeling, and I know my pick this week. I don't remember why it just popped up, but I think I was listening to my iPod on shuffle, and then I remember I was like, oh man, the No Woman No Cry came on. I was like, oh, I dig that, so I'm gonna go back and listen to it. And then that's when I was like, man, I forgot how much I love this album because the score by the Fugees is my pick of the week. And the way I came across this album, my mom was kind of into like she had this little phase because she's a younger parent, like early 40s, whatever. So it was 1996. And I was just a little tyke, a little young and
my
whippersnapper.
gosh.
I'll use that. So I'm aging you, ain't I? So, but anyway, she had this, and she had some LL Cool J. She had some, I think she had D'Angelo. She had some other stuff that was in her car. And I remember seeing this album, and I think that was kind of, like, I was like, oh, who are these people? Like, what is this album? Like, it was just black and orange and just them in a black silhouette. And popped
It's like
it
The
in.
Godfather.
Yeah, it kind
Yeah,
of.
it is. Yeah, they
kinda
kinda copied
like The
that,
Godfather.
they did,
So, and then I popped it in, and I remember it being like because I really dug a lot of my dad's stuff. He was classic rock, Queensryche, Def Leppard, all that stuff. Van Halen, of course. Excuse me. And when I got into my mom's stuff, which was a little bit weird because I was like rock and roll, yeah. Well, this kind of helped my build my hip hop and rap and stuff like that. So. This album, man, it's really amazing. And like I said, when I heard it on the shuffle,
You said amazing.
oh, I thought I said like the F word. By the way, Matt, he has this thing about amazing and
It's Eddie Trunk.
yeah,
hates
he's
It's
not a
that
fan.
Eddie
damn
Trunk.
adjective.
So yeah.
Anyway,
So
go
we're
on.
not going to do Trunks?
If we can, we will. But I don't.
We
Think
could do like Stump the Will.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should do an episode on how much I can't stand
Yeah,
the
we
guys
should.
from that metal show.
that's probably like a 2-part episode.
Stump and Nez.
No, I don't want to stump the Nazareth. You can stump me easily. I'm not going to go around and fly names around. But anyway, go back to what you're saying.
But anyway, so yeah. To me, this
This is a
album.
fun episode.
It really is. It really is. And this, like I said, this album came out in 1996. It looks like it had about 4 singles with Fuji La, which is, again, that's probably one of. There's a couple of remixes on the album of that Fuji La song. There's I can't remember exactly what it was, but that are I think one of the remixes that I liked was pretty. Yeah, here it is. There's a Refugee Camp mix. There's a Sly and Robbie mix, and there's a. Refugee Camp Global mix, and I think it was just a Refugee Camp mix that I liked. The beats were a little bit cleaner on that one and better with that. So, but yeah, and Killing Me Softly was another one, which was I think that's why my mom got
That was one
out.
of the greatest remakes ever.
Yeah, and
That's one of the top karaoke songs
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, man.
Every time you go into a bar, somebody's singing that damn song.
yeah, and let's see, Ready or Not. That was also a good song. I think that's been used on like a movie recently. So on one of the
What was the other one they had?
trailer.
Maybe it was how many records do those guys have?
2 actually. And it's funny because I brought the stuff for the other one, but
What's the? Sorry, all I can think of is the video now. This might even be the wrong band, but like they're like.
maybe it was just like Wyclef Jean. Gone Till November, maybe.
Yeah, no. Was it like? You guys probably don't remember. It was like they're like in this like African city, like this ghetto area, and there's this like old house with a tin roof. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts
I don't know.
now.
We're gonna have to look that one
Well, you
up.
know something about this album that you're really aged me when you said you're just a
Yeah.
little tight, but I was finishing up my senior year. Or actually, I was in summer school down in Macomb, and this is what hit big, and we were listening to it, and the first thing that popped in my head was like, "When this band would be awesome if they did like a jazz based album, like a Luscious Jackson or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
Luscious Jackson, something like that, because they had all the components to be like that trippy type of jazz, like
Yeah.
what Morcheeba is.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
That's if they would have kind of stayed with that.
Like that
line
band
of
that
work.
did that song "Cool Like That." Remember that song?
Yeah, that's Diggable Planets.
Diggable Planets. Yes.
I mean, Lauren Hill's vocals were awesome. Like,
Wyclef's an amazing guitar player.
yeah, he's an amazing artist. Like in general. Oh, come on. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I
At
said
least
amazing.
we're-
I'm glad this
Yeah.
xylophone is here.
That was brought to you by the Skeleton Key.
Yeah.
by the
Thank you,
way.
Skeleton Key.
Thank
Fisher
you.
Price, pull a tune.
Yeah.
All right.
But
It's an amazing toy.
No, that all right, awesome. We should ask if we can, they can be our sponsors, and we'll just take this. So, but I found a lot of commercial success. I knew it did because a lot of people, like a lot of my mom's friends, had it #1 automatically on the Billboard 200. So,
When the album sales actually meant something.
yeah. And hold on, that's where it goes right here. Certified 6 times platinum sales.
That's pretty.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's a huge.
I'm trying to find the numbers. The numbers are probably on here somewhere else, but it just, let's see. I mean, so many good things came out of it. Like, look at these reviews, like five stars, 4.5 stars, 3.5 stars, A's. Spin Magazine gave it 9 out of 10, man. And a lot of people were like, this is something different. This isn't the East Coast West Coast thing going on right now. 'Cause That was about that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Dre and then Snoop and all
Well,
that.
that's like early '90s and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. all that
Tupac.
stuff.
Yeah, but once again, it was an ego-driven band, and that's what probably was the demise to him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
which
is-
there's Lauren
which
Hill
is
and did her
probably-
own thing. Wyclef. Well, who's the other person? In that band?
Yeah, I think he works at
What's his
the
name?
Quick Shop.
Yeah, he's the one that forgot.
Yeah, it's Wyclef and Lauren Hill and that guy.
Yeah,
Pretty much. Yeah.
Kind
Kind of like the other 2 dudes in the Black Eyed Peas.
Maybe that's him.
He's
like, screw this, I'm
Praz
done.
Michael, or something? Praz Mitchell. So,
Oh.
but yeah, no, aren't those guys Filipino? I don't know. But yeah, man, and like, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I dug it.
What's wrong? They speak Spanish.
Do they? The Filipinos?
Well, it's called Flip,
Yeah.
but it's like a
Yeah,
cross between.
if you notice, their last names are all like Hernandez and Ortega.
Or
Pacquiao,
Pacquiao.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
boy.
Unfortunate, but we won't go there. So.
It is. Cost me $25.
And I was just seeing, and I was just seeing here, there's actually quite a lot of sample credits on there. I mean, obviously, Killing Me Softly. I was just seeing here, Fuji Law contains a sample of If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right by Ramsey Lewis. And, I mean, there's just a bunch that I didn't even kind of, like, I had to kind of go over this before we got here, but...
Somebody didn't do their thorough homework.
Thorough homework, yes. But I did. I started taking a page out of your book. So. But and it got him 2 Grammy Awards. Again, I think back when Grammy Awards kind of meant something. I don't know.
Is
I
that
don't know
like
how
kind of
you
like
feel
an
about that.
honorary doctorate?
That's like
Is it?
yeah.
No,
Probably.
yeah,
I don't know.
amazing.
We should ask Jeff Toll and
Yeah,
Metallica.
yeah,
and
yeah.
other
Yeah,
Grammys
okay.
and
Jeff
how that
Toll.
goes.
Yeah.
So mad about that.
I
He
mean,
plays a flute on the best metal record. I mean, come on.
and I was talking with Matt
Playing
earlier
the flute's
about
kind of hard though.
playing the flute.
Randy Rose did.
Yeah, the vinyl, right? The vinyl
Yes.
that we were talking about on that. Who had that? Was that Carducci?
Yeah,
Carducci.
The
Yes.
Carducci. So
Is that Carducci?
Thanks for being on it.
Godfather?
Yes. But I had a lot of accolades. One of the ones I found kind of funny was Album of the Year in Sweden, #1.
Really?
That's not really uncommon.
Not
It
really?
really is. You know, a lot of the U.S. acts back then would go skyrocketing. Maybe they had modest success
Yeah.
in the United States. They would go out of the roof over in Europe
Really?
somewhere. Yes, that's very.
That's where that saying "I'm big in Japan" came from because
Oh.
bands would go to the United States
yeah.
that would suck, and then over there they'd be huge.
Yeah,
Mr.
man.
Big is still
Mr. Big.
huge in Japan. They sell out arena like the Tokyo Dome.
Really?
Every time they go over there, they still sell like a crazy amount of records over there. It's just worth them to fly to Japan.
That'd be like
Yeah.
David Hasselhoff in Germany.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically,
there you
yes.
go, perfect.
Yeah, that's basically the best way to explain it. Yeah, they're huge over there.
Oh, that's
Somehow they still got that crazy ass following.
Well, Kiss back during Crazy Nights, Animalize, and all that stuff. I'm missing an album. Lick It Up.
Look at
Yeah. Oh, like
Animalize, Crazy Nights, and maybe Revenge.
and Hot
Maybe I'm
Shade.
missing
Hot
some.
in
Hot in
the
the
Shade.
Shade. They were still selling, 50,000 seats over in Japan.
Well, it's kind of like for a while, it's the opposite with Def Leppard. They were huge over here, and they weren't getting very much love back
Right.
at home.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Back to the Fugees.
That's the kind of thing you see, though. I mean, like that's interesting. That because you're a big fan of the European scene over there, and then what kind of goes on. And you have a lot of like Boots and live albums from there. But I mean, as far as the Fugees go, to me, this is easily a pop in, listen straight through, maybe give it another listen, and it kind of spawned off. I really enjoy Lauryn Hill. Did anybody see that the unplugged issue of not issue, the unplugged episode of Lauryn Hill?
Yes.
That was amazing. I love that. Oh, darn it.
Hey, you saved yourself on that
I
one.
did. That was so emotional. Like,
Why? Because she knows she was going to prison for
oh,
tax evasion?
yeah, that's right. Still. Did anybody see that basketball player that passed away, her name was Lauryn Hill? I remember somebody posted R.I.P. Lauryn Hill, and I was like, oh, what? And I was like, Lauryn Hill? Like, I Googled it immediately, and I was like, Lauryn Hill's dead? I was like, no, it wasn't that Lauryn Hill. It was
From
the basketball
Paldiano.
player. I was like, oh, man, okay, it wasn't that Lauryn Hill. It was a 19-year-old basketball player. So I was like, oh, okay.
That's it.
But
no big
anyways,
deal.
Yeah.
I love the MTV Unplugged Lauryn Hill album. And
I
love
miss
this.
MTV Unplugged.
I would.
Well, the reason why they don't do it anymore because there's not enough
no
quality
music.
bands to do
Right.
acoustic.
Right.
I mean, we could see like a Taylor Swift Unplugged, I guess.
Honestly, like one of
What's the difference?
Nirvana's I think was one of the best ones I know, and a lot of people won't like that. But dude,
I'm not. I mean, the only thing good about that was the Meat Puppets were backing them up. We're backing Nirvana up on that one.
Yeah.
their cover of "Where Did You Sleep Last Night"?
Yeah.
Not that word, but it was incredible. It was like I think.
It was good,
Ah,
Oh,
see.
he's like,
Ah.
because they did a lot of stuff that the fans
Didn't no.
Yeah.
They did like they obviously couldn't do "Smells Like Teen Spirit" because that wouldn't sound
Yeah.
great on acoustic. But they did like Plateau, obviously, Lake of Fire, Oh Me. They did
Where did bad folks go when they die?
Lake of Fire.
Dude,
yeah.
that is a great song. I'm sorry, I will fight you on that one.
Yeah.
Anyone that says it's not,
Yeah.
will get punched in the throat.
They did that cover of what was that?
I wonder if that caught
I don't know, but
Man Who Sold the World. There we go. Sorry, I was playing the
Oh.
bass line in my head.
Oh, it's David Bowie.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
while we're on the unplugged thing, I'm gonna tell you right now. The best unplugged I ever saw.
Ricky Martin.
No. But Matt does live La Vida Loca. Though.
Hey, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I will stand here, guys, my witness. Ricky Martin's a goddamn good-looking man. I don't care what you say about the man.
No homo. Right?
No, hey, depends. Depends on
How
who's
many
watching.
of these Sam Adams you're gonna pound down? We'll see where right.
But as I was saying, there was two episodes. It was Stevie Ray Vaughan on acoustic, one of the very first unplugs, and it was Rat. Right when Robin Crosby was booted out of the band, and they had Michael Schenker playing lead guitar.
Oh, wow.
And that was out of control. Those two episodes, look it up on YouTube.
I will. 'Cause
It is.
Michael Schenker.
It was
the shit.
fantastic.
Ah, saved
yeah.
himself.
Well, Jake, well, we got you here. I think you're excited for your pick today.
Yeah, actually, I'm doing a band that people have heard of, but
I'm pretty sure we've heard you mention these guys every
I
episode.
mention them every time I can because nobody gives them love.
Yeah.
I'm doing Guided by Voices, which is actually just Robert Pollard. Basically, he's like the brains behind it all.
And ex-professional baseball player, too.
Really?
One of my facts. He is the first person in Wright East State University to score a no-hitter.
Really?
Yes, he was.
So he's
nice.
He's very
accomplished.
talented.
And he's in. Him and his brother both are in their high school Hall of Fame for
Really?
baseball, basketball, and football.
Interesting.
His brother holds stats or scoring records over there.
So you don't hear a lot about like accomplished, athletes.
There's another thing too. Got by Voices in the '90s when they were on Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Beat Billy Corgan and the Beastie Boys in basketball.
What? Like
Yeah.
in a one-off game? Like
Yeah, like during while they're on tour and stuff, just
Shirts
hanging
and
out.
skins?
And Kim Deal was cheering them on, and it's Kim Deal and Bobby Pollard had a little thing going on.
It's kind of surreal, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, BC Boys, Smash Pumpkins, and Bob Pollard like shooting it up. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like not drugs. Talking
yeah,
about basketball.
yeah.
There you go.
And Bobby Pollard's probably old enough to be their grandfather.
Yeah. He
he's an old
probably
dude.
schooled him, man. He probably schooled him.
I
Oh.
believe, if I'm not stand corrected, but I think Pollard was in the minor leagues the same time Pete Rose was. I'm not quite for sure on that.
He loves
They're
Pete Rose.
Very similar. They're very
probably why I
similar
love him.
ages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody loves Pete Rose.
and they're well, and they're
Faye Vincent doesn't.
Bob Pollard's from Dayton, Ohio, so I mean that all kind of coincides there. But yeah, Guided by Voices. One thing I really love about Robert Pollard and Guided by Voices is the fact that us being music collectors is that there's never a shortage of new music. Dude never stops. He puts out 2 to 3 records a year.
Yeah.
It never stops. Since 2008, he finally got the idea to make his own record label. He's like,
Okay.
we can do everything ourselves, cut out all the middlemen. And since 2008, when he started that, they put out 57 things.
Yeah, I remember you had brought this up because you're like, you got like 3 shelves dedicated just to them. I was like, what, 3 shelves? And that's when you kind of brought that up.
Yeah, there's they got 3 issues of a box set called Suitcase, and that, where the name came from is that back in the 80s and stuff, when Bob would record stuff, he'd just throw it in a suitcase in his basement.
Really?
Like tapes or like whatever. And so like one time they're like looking for something to put out, and they pull all these tapes from the suitcase. And they put it out. I mean, it's lo-fi kind of stuff, so it kind of sounds like Jesus and Mary Chain kind of stuff. Some of
Sure,
it,
right on.
some of it's really polished and like, like studio stuff. But each one of those box sets, and they got 3 of them, have 100 songs on them.
Wow.
So it's like,
So multiple discs. like-
it's 4 discs, and I mean the booklets are very informative. Like
Yeah.
exactly, this is where I got this from because he remembers everything.
So are they actually like books then? Like,
No, I mean it's just
They
like
are booklets.
yeah, they're all like little books. It's not like it's not really like high quality like that because
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
way too much. I mean they're like $35
Oh,
when you
okay.
buy them new. I mean they're pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
But I mean like just Guided by Voices themselves have 22 records since the 80s. Bob Pollard solo has 26 records.
Wow.
Like 17 EPs, 38 singles, 6 box sets. Bob Pollard by himself has 18 singles. He has 24 side projects.
20
Yeah,
side
dude,
projects?
he
I
doesn't
can't even
st- he
do
d-
one.
Is there a number of how many songs he wrote for other musicians? Is there a number out there?
No, there's not, unfortunately.
Because there's
he
got to
has-
be.
He got offered to write the jingle for Budweiser
Hmm.
in the 90s, and he turned him down because he didn't want to drink Budweiser.
Who does?
Yeah, see, there you go. Like,
Hey,
I
the
do.
best beer is the beer that's free.
Yeah.
but he said he didn't want to be pigeonholed like that.
Yeah.
He wanted his music like out there like that. But he said he wrote jingles for Krispy Kreme and stuff like that, and he didn't want to do it. He actually started off as a 4th grade teacher when the band was getting going.
Oh,
And he wrote like tons of like a lot of his songs in earlier days were about kids like in school. Like one song is called "Gold Star for Robot Boy."
okay.
Back in the day, you
That
used to get a
sounds
gold
like a Japanese animation,
Right?
Yeah.
Like a Johnny Sacco type.
Yeah,
of
exactly. That's like,
Robot. Boy.
yeah, Attack on Titan.
Yeah, there you
Kind
go.
of a thing, yeah.
Oh, Knight Wagner, there you go. So
I mean, I don't know. He's nonstop. I mean, when you see him live, he drinks more beer than you could ever imagine drinking in your life.
and he survives.
It's his creative juice.
Oh,
in between
literally.
songs, and then he kicks into the
Dude.
singing, and he's spot on.
I'm a Wilkins. I can think of a lot of beer.
You
You better be
should,
putting that shit down.
Yeah.
dude. He chugs Jose while he's on stage. Like they did Austin City Limits, and
Okay.
Yes, they did. That's right. I
and-
forgot about that.
So and like they couldn't have bottles of beer, so they had cups of beer because sponsorship issues,
Sure.
Yeah.
But they were like
It's public television. Come on,
Trays.
man.
Maybe they just thought it was water. Remember?
oh no,
You're saying like
cups
trays of beer.
No,
like,
they had like
that.
these big buckets that sat behind them.
Yeah.
and they just had cups of beer, and he got trashed on Austin
That-
City Limits.
Sounds awesome. I gotta find this.
Oh, dude, I have the DVD.
I remember.
I'm
I
sure you
actually
do.
remember that episode.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. And I don't know, let's see what else I got written down here. Some of their songs are like on How I Met Your Mother and Scrubs and stuff like that. So they get kind of like that, but they just never crossed over to.
Yeah.
They had this record that was supposed to be huge. Rick Ocasek from the Cars produced it. And they like a couple of songs wound up like on video games, like
Yeah.
EA Sports and stuff like that. But
Okay.
nothing ever happened. So I mean, he just went back in his little home in Ohio and writes
Start-
two or three records a year and.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what his process is.
It-
Just a lot of beer, you think?
No,
Yeah.
his
Yeah,
process is actually because people.
Mine.
He's very informative
Yeah.
when he's like about like he responds and stuff on the message boards.
Cool.
And
Maybe he could join the group.
Maybe,
he,
maybe.
he's very into old school 70s British pop. So I can see what I can do.
Yeah, let's do it.
But
Why not?
his thing is he says writing music is his job. So he makes a pot of coffee.
Yeah.
He sits down at a table and he writes music, and that's what he does every day. Like,
Life.
right?
So I mean, like, there's got to be oodles and oodles of archived tunes that he has.
Oh, yeah.
Is there?
dude.
Do you think there's like an estimated value of what those tunes that are archived that he hasn't put out
well,
that he owns? I mean, what the value, the number value?
Well,
of that
they
would be?
say like he records everything he does. Like everything's demoed up, and like there's stuff that like the hardcore fans like have that nobody else has heard, and there's tons of stuff like they have the records like months and months and months before they even come out. So I mean, there's got to be. I think for sure they said they have at least enough for one more suitcase. They just got to
Whoa.
decide if they want to do it or not.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of like Al Hendricks, Jimi Hendrix' dad, has the closet. It was full of Jimmy's outtakes and things that Jimmy.
Really?
That's what a lot of that stuff was. A lot of the newer stuff that's coming out now.
Or just like the
It's
closet
just
things.
Jimi Hendrix. He
Yeah.
would go and he would lock himself because when he started Electric Ladyland Studios, he would go just lock himself in and he would do everything.
Right.
It's kind of like when Prince did the Batman soundtrack.
Right.
That's all
Oh, yeah.
Prince.
Yeah.
There's no other musicians on that album, so
Right.
it's the same kind of thing, you know. So that's probably the same kind of deal.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, well, like he plays everything. He writes everything. I mean, he's very.
Was he kind of like a Trent Reznor type? Because Trent Reznor
Yeah.
now is doing
Without
other
all the
things.
cocaine.
No, he's too old for cocaine. He's like 62, man. He's like,
You're never
You
too
know-
old for cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask John Entwistle about
yeah,
that.
yeah, right.
Exactly.
But you see what happens. He would end up here. In this,
At the skeleton key.
he no shit. Where do we go?
He's too old for cocaine.
But before that,
Al Hendricks.
He probably only just smokes pot and drinks coffee now.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, the cool thing is like when he comes up with song titles, like when they were driving to play at Riot Fest 2 years ago.
Riot Fest 2 years ago?
Yeah. So they don't have no money, so they drove in a van
Yeah.
from Dayton, Ohio to Chicago, and on the way there, so he's sitting in the front seat with a pad, paper he keeps with him all the time.
Yeah.
And while they're like he listened to like Howard Stern or whatever, and he turned the radio all the way down to where he can barely hear it, and that's how he comes up with song titles, stuff he thinks he hears.
No, okay.
He'll write it down.
He doesn't have any money. What?
No.
How is
The,
this
the
possible?
amount of ownership of music that he has
See,
no
that's
money.
the sick and disgusting thing about
Yeah, well, like
music.
he says, like for everything he puts out, he can guarantee just 1,000 sales. Like he knows, like there's gonna be 1,000 people to buy it.
Yeah.
So he does really limited runs, and he doesn't like live like a huge life. I mean, that's really all he does. But like he can't afford to like.
But video games. He's got his music on video games. He's
But
got.
but see, that was before
Royalties and stuff.
that was before he had his own record label. That's when he was on TVT. So
Well,
you know,
there you go.
That label game.
yeah.
This is just criminal.
Yeah.
Well, it
And
is. I mean,
it's-
how many
I mean-
artists to the beginning of artists? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Grog and Trog beating on a stick, and then he decides, well, you can pay me to do it, and that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
Now, how many artists have gotten screwed like that?
Yeah, and that like the popular stuff that was on like How I Met Your Mother and Scrubs and stuff like that all came from right between the Matador years and the TVT years.
Oh, so that was under the ownership of those record companies.
Yeah.
That does blow.
See, so like when they do like demos and stuff like that, like when they release odds and ends, you never see that stuff because it's owned by TVT. And actually, they actually got in trouble because I mean, he's very open with sharing stuff as long as like he knows what you're sharing.
Yeah.
Like he's you can share demos and live stuff or whatever. But they had to take down the isolation drills and Due to Collapse, which were 2 records that are on TVT, because they were pissed off that they were trading and sharing the demos.
Huh.
Which everybody ends up getting anyway.
Yeah,
But still, I mean, like, they had to take him down. But, yeah, I mean, he, he's eclectic. I mean, you can't, he doesn't stop. He's very prolific. He will not stop writing until he dies. He
Essentially, it's what his love is. So that's why he still does what he does. So that's
I mean,
very
it's
impressive.
nonstop. I mean, it's one of those bands you can listen to, and then, like, you'll find a new song every time you listen to it. Like, oh, that song didn't hit me this time, but...
It's too bad that his talent in for baseball and his talent in music, it didn't lead him to other directions. Be this like cross multi talented guy that he's a scout for baseball, but yet he writes tunes on the road.
Right.
All these other things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like he's got love like in the musical community. Eddie Vedder is a huge guy by word. He actually Robert Pollard opened up for Pearl Jam for a couple dates.
Huh.
I mean, like, and you'll
like
see.
on the recent tour too, maybe.
It was
Back
like
in the-
or maybe 2010 even.
Oh, okay.
But like Eddie Vedder will wear they made a shirt with Bob Pollard wearing his the senior picture for the baseball team, the one where he got the no hitter, or so no, it'd be college. And it said and they made a shirt of it. It's like Bob Pollard pitched a no hitter or whatever.
Nice.
And Eddie Vedder will wear it on tour and stuff.
That'd be a
So
sweet shirt tone.
Yeah.
It's probably like one of a kind.
No, it's like $20. You can buy them. Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That'd be sweet, but I'm surprised you don't.
They
have
can make shirts for anything. Like so and so had a 10-pound shit this morning.
Yep.
Yeah,
There
there
you
you
go.
Before we went to Jamaica.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is on the screen press.
Yeah, so there we go. Which,
It's got to be a brown shirt.
foreshadowing.
Ding,
Let,
ding, ding,
let's
ding.
not get there that quick yet. But all right, so Guided by Voice is obviously a solid pick for you, and I know you're a big fan.
I'm gonna have to burn you some stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, I will.
I mean, like I said, I'm
I will definitely check it out myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. But like, you can't get if you get hung up on something, you're like, man, this ain't my thing. You gotta find something else, like within, because I mean, personal
So much
acoustic
stuff.
stuff
Yeah.
does that. He goes to very polished stuff. And he goes to lo-fi, dirty Jesus and the Mary Chain type of stuff. I mean, he's all over.
man.
I would think that probably when you say that if you're interested in checking out his stuff, check out the Austin City Limit stuff first.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a true.
Yeah.
It's
That's actually
polished but unpolished.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly. And then you can all right, well, I like this song, and this song. Then you can go to Guided by Voices database, which is this huge ass webpage that has anything and everything you need to know. Find out what album's on and listen to the album, and then that's
go
how
from
you
there,
do it.
yeah.
That's how I did it. Like I had bootlegs. I'd write down the songs I liked before I just Guided by Voices database thing popped up, and then you'd write down what songs you wanted, and then it's a rabbit hole though.
Well, Matt, that brings me to you. Do you the band you picked and your pick of the week? Do you think
Well,
they have a
this is
giant database?
Not really. That's kind of a great segue, though, to the band that I picked.
Sure.
First off, I would like to say again, thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh,
This
no,
is very
thanks
awesome.
for showing
I
up.
love talking about music. I love talking about this kind of thing. Learning new things about music is awesome.
Yeah.
That's really what it's all about if you're a true fan of music.
Right.
There are those people in the world that don't like music, and those kind of people cannot be trusted.
They should probably just fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
So really, yeah. So again, my pick is "The Magician's Birthday" by Uriah Heep. How I came to this pick is I was saying this was a gateway drug for me. My father, who had passed away recently, was a fan, and I had put on the collector's website that this kind of happened out of the blue. Maybe it was kismet, maybe it wasn't, but my dad was a fan of the Columbia House records.
Okay.
And so
12
he would always get these picks that would come in, and he couldn't he couldn't send them back because Dad was very forgetful.
Yeah.
He had the brown bottle flu a lot, and so he brought my brother and I Live After Death by Iron Maiden.
Yes.
And Aaron and I, Jason, I always want to call him Jason, Big J and I listened to it,
Yeah.
and it blew us away. And that was one of those turning points in my life. So then, a year later, maybe 9 months later, we were listening to Iron Maiden, and my dad comes into me and he says, well, if you like this, you really need to check this out because it's really cool.
Okay.
And he shows me the album that he had for the Magician's Birthday. And I looked at the cover, and I wrote down this because this was really cool. The cover was by Roger Dean. Roger Dean is the artist that is more famous for the covers of Yes albums.
Yep.
He did Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe.
Yes, he
did Asia. He did some. He did some covers for different SNES games.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
All kinds of different cool stuff. So that cover, being the young, heavy metal kid, I was like all about demons and
Yeah.
wizards and
I still am.
people killing stuff. So am I. Let's out nerd each other real quick. But hell yeah. And so this cover drew me in, This is two people, singular entities on this cover, bright red cover, not much going on, two singular entities.
Bring it up.
And
The cover.
they hold on, I got it right here. They so and they're just standing there as a standoff, and this young man is going up against this person, and I'm like, oh man, I want to check that out. So and when you put it on, it's this was before I got a chance to listen to any Deep Purple or anything like that. But if you listen to this Magician's Birthday album and Uriah Heep as a whole, they are very similar in style to Deep Purple.
Right.
And I always thought that they were kind of I even wrote this down, that they were kind of a poor man's Deep Purple.
Okay.
I kind of thought,
Boy, I would say they were right up there.
well, see, that's the thing. When I started reading and researching Uriah Heep, back then they were considered to be a bigger draw than even Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple in the UK.
Yes,
they
they
were
were.
huge
Huh.
and amazingly huge, and so and it's kind of ironic you said the food.
It was amazing.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
It was ironic.
You're okay. You're okay.
They this Magician's Birthday went to #1 in Finland.
Oh, there you go.
So
Oh, okay.
there you go, close to Sweden.
Right.
But it's so it came out in 1972, which is 2 years before I was even born.
Okay.
So for it to have that impact on me all those years later
Yeah.
was huge. And I say it's a gateway drug to me because listening to that opened my eyes to what is now considered progressive rock.
Yeah.
Right.
You
right.
know, and I wouldn't, the bands like Dream Theater and, bands like that wouldn't have a Periphery, and bands like that would not have this style if it wasn't for bands like Uriah
Right.
Heep.
So is this like a band that you could probably say maybe help kind of guide what progressive rock was then?
Definitely. They took they took elements of jazz, folk, I mean, just down and dirty rock, and they melded it all together and fused it into this one entity. And, a lot of people give John Lord the credit of using the Hammond B3 through the Marshall and starting that sound, but Deep Purple, when their first album was being recorded, Deep Purple and Uriah Heep shared rehearsal space. So I don't think that it's any real stretch of the imagination to think that these two bands are not similar. There's a band or a song called Spider Woman on this album that if you were to hear it, you would think it's a Deep Purple song.
Really?
Well, they were
I'll
like
dig
they
this
were
one up
considered
again.
like cutting edge. I know Gary Thane, the bass player for them. I think he was the second bass player. He was considered to be the like cutting edge, like the John Entwistle type bass
Right.
player.
Oh.
He was very progressive, like the Billy Sheenan. Played
Oh,
played a
really?
lead bass. He was considered like to be this progressive genius. I think heroin got him. I believe,
Yeah,
or something like that.
unfortunately, yeah.
Yep.
But the album itself is ironically, the guitar player, Ken Hensley, it's based on a short story that he wrote.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of what you guys have talked about in the pilot episode. It's kind of a theme album,
Yes.
but no one really would know that unless you were close to the album. So, like I said, it was for me. It was it's kind of a bittersweet because, like I said, my dad has passed away. But
Yeah.
it means so much to me because the songs to me, I was listening to it on the way down here. Actually, I left my house in Moline and listened to
go, yeah.
Magician's Birthday and pulled in the driveway here listening to Magician's Birthday.
Nice.
So it's like
Front to back.
it's like 10 minutes long, the song itself.
Yeah.
And the imagery and all of that kind of thing, it really stuck with me. It's it sold over 2 million albums worldwide. It didn't really do real well in the United States. It went gold.
Yeah.
Right.
But they never really gained that notoriety here.
Now, here's the question I have for you: is like, and I put Uriah Heep in this category because I have some friends of mine that are big Heep fans. They're about 10 years older than me, but people just didn't know how to classify them. They didn't
Right.
really know what they were. Right? Is that what you would give them?
I would say that, yeah. Because the funny thing about Uriah Heep is anytime you mention the Heep, everyone's like, oh yeah, Easy Living. And you're like, well, yeah, that's their biggest song. Everyone knows Easy
Yeah.
Living.
Yeah.
Wasp covered it.
Right.
But I mean, you get thick into the album tracks, and my gosh, I mean, there's like I said, Spider Woman sounds like Deep Purple. You have the song called Rain on the album. It's so stoic and acoustic. When you listen to it, I mean, it's good. And there's all of these different songs. It's not like you would have. It's not one of those things where you, like we are so used to, where you have, rocker ballad, rocker
Right.
ballad. There's no formula to it. But it all goes together seamlessly.
So it took kind of its own form.
Well,
Exactly.
and you will probably back me up on this 100% of this. Is like they got to the point where like, okay, whoa, they're a classic rock band. Whoa, but now they're like an art rock band, like
Right.
what Yes was at the time.
Right.
They could turn it on and turn it off to
Right.
whatever genre they wanted.
Right, and they fell victim to the 1980s, like a lot of those bands did, and after the 80s, they really didn't have. They became a cult favorite, where people like, that's why you see Led Zeppelin T-shirts and you see Deep Purple T-shirts. You don't see Uriah Heep T-shirts,
Right.
and that band is every bit as popular and every bit as important to that genre as either of those two bands are.
Right.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll reiterate this again: is that if you're like fascinated with bass players,
Yeah.
check out Gary Thane.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He's his own entity. That's for sure.
Uriah Heep's first album, which I also have on vinyl, that was my dad's, is crazy. I mean, it's just that the first single off the album will swing you by your nuts, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
They're
I
good.
mean, yeah, it will. I mean, it's like you hear it and you're like, oh hell yeah, I want to listen to this all night long.
So what are we talking as far as like what number album? What number
This is
album was
this is the
for
fifth
then?
album, and I think they had 15 albums total. They were still recording into the 90s.
I think they still are recording.
yeah,
Are they not?
I believe you might be right.
Like with the full lineup or
It's no. They're the
Yeah, there's been
past
there's-
members. You can
yeah,
just
there's been several lineup
it's-
changes. They did re-record a lot of their bigger songs in 90 something or other. I don't remember exactly, but they're not as good. The
Yeah.
re-recordings are not as good. They take liberties with vocal melodies and things like that. A lot of people do that kind of stuff.
Right.
I didn't get into it as much. It didn't have the purity. It didn't have that edge that they had in the '70s.
rawness.
But this particular album, it's the third album in the series of albums that they put out. And like I said, for me, it was something that my dad shared with me. He used to sing the Magician's Birthday song to me all the time, but he didn't really know how the melody went.
yeah.
That was kind of how the old man was. But
So were you there to correct him then? Like,
yeah, I mean, I was like,
you
Dad,
did.
actually, it's like this. And for me, it was another thing because I've always been a vocalist. I'm a singer by trade. And to try to sing along with Uriah Heep, I mean, it's a chore. It's not King Diamond difficult, but it's there.
Right.
I mean, they can blow. So
Well, it's a little bit. It's a little everywhere.
yeah, I mean, it's you have the middle of the road, and then he'll go from that all the way to the stratosphere, And so for me, it's a challenge, and I like that. So many of these bands anymore, you get maybe 5 notes,
Yeah.
And there's no, or they scream their damn heads off, and you can't understand what the hell they're saying
Oh yeah,
anyway.
a lot of that.
And so I don't really get so much into that, but you listen to Uriah Heep from that time period live, and you get exactly what you're getting on the album. It's kind of like when you go to a Queensryche show.
Right.
I saw Queensryche with Halford, and it was either Iron Maiden or Deep Purple. I think it was Deep Purple. but Queensryche, they sounded exactly like they did on the album, and it was
Really?
the same way when you listen to Live Heat back in the day. And the funny thing is, the name came from Charles Dickens.
Yes, it did.
It was a character in Charles Dickens. So,
Really?
yeah, that's kind of a cool little tidbit that I
That is.
didn't
That's
know.
pretty
So,
interesting.
so anyway, that's my pick.
Awesome.
And I have a friend of mine that is a diehard Uriah Heep fan, and
Really?
he swears by Gary
yeah.
Thing. I mean, he
Yeah,
just
and I mean, one of the best songs. I mean, to me, it stands up there with any classic Right song. Is "Sweet Lorraine." If you get a chance, check it out on YouTube.
will.
That song. It's a classic rock song. You know, talks about magic carpets and all kinds of cool shit.
And who doesn't love magic carpets and the demon, like you said on the front? Now, is this one that you own, like a first pressing of, or?
I have my dad's copy.
Okay.
So heaven only knows when it's from.
Yeah.
Luckily, before my father passed away, I raided their vinyl.
Uh-huh.
So I have
Oh,
a
wow.
killer vinyl
I
selection.
bet you do, man.
He's got all kinds of cool stuff.
Very impressive.
So yeah, it for me, I've got, like I said, I've got the first album and I've got Magician's Birthday on vinyl.
Would you say this is one of your influences?
Oh,
being a
definitely,
vocalist?
without a doubt. When I write vocally, well, I mean, I was a state ranked vocalist in high school.
Okay. Oh,
shit.
I was all state honors vocalist
Yeah.
in high school. I was choir president. I was all of those cool things. But I mean, that was one of the things that we used to do. That my sister Victoria and Aaron, my brother Jason, we would sit on the front porch. One of the best things we did was Seven Bridges Road from the Eagles. We
Really?
would sing that a cappella on our front porch.
Just hanging out, just
Yeah,
shooting the
we'd
shit,
hang out, we'd
nothing?
have a couple beers, and we'd sing Eagles tunes. And we
man.
would sing Uriah Heep, and we would sing all of this stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
And that's
that
what
was
we
awesome.
did. I mean, we do that now. So I will definitely have you guys over to my house for
Oh,
some beers
yeah,
because
that'd
we'll
be
sit and
awesome.
sing in the kitchen. So yeah, this definitely blows me away. And that's one of those things where you can't sit back on your hands, man. So many of these musicians nowadays, they really, I mean, it sounds like such an old man, but it's like, I'm tired of listening to this crap that they're passing off as music.
Oh, it's garbage.
When you can go
Yes.
back, like you said, Stevie Ray Vaughan on Unplugged, forget about it. When he
Yeah.
played over here at the Bix Fest, the
Yes.
Blues Fest, and blew everybody away, killed it for however long he played. And listen to these guys nowadays, and they just I'm sorry, it's just not the same thing.
There's like no heart left anymore.
well,
It's
it's
like
most of it is computer generated.
yeah,
you know,
garbage. It's like
Same.
auto-tune.
Pro Tools type stuff.
programs, yeah, all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff.
And it's true. It's like there's no rock stars anymore.
And it's gems like this that kind of, make me appreciate the stuff from back in the days as opposed to listening to stuff now.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, there's so much stuff I haven't listened to that I'm learning just from this group. That,
So am I, and that's
you
the
know.
beauty of it, like Guided by Voices. I've heard of them, but I've never really listened to them.
Gotcha.
Oh,
So
man, I
that's
could-
one of those things where I will definitely check that
Oh
out.
man, there's so much stuff. I wish.
Well, it's a lot of
That's
the stuff is
sickening.
just worth of get it on your laptop or your desktop, pop it on YouTube, and just press play on an entire album of whatever
Yeah.
whatever we're talking
That's the
about.
greatest thing about YouTube is,
Full album.
yeah, because you can go on YouTube and listen to full Uriah Heep albums.
Yep.
Nope.
I was doing that on the way, like I said, on the way down here. I only got through a half of one song.
But hey, man,
That was a nice little trek for the sightsee. So I'm definitely going to check out. Like, I mean, I've been saying that each show, but I mean, each show brings something different to the table. And
Yeah.
again, thanks for your pick, man. And,
Very good. Thank you again so much.
No,
for letting me
no,
come
man.
by.
I'm telling you, thank you, man. It's been great so far, and I know we're moving right along. So, Nez, interesting one.
Well,
you brought.
I'm always trying to bring off things that maybe were not commercially,
Yes.
successful or whatever else. But what I'm introducing tonight is the Colt's fifth studio album, Ceremony, which was released back in 1991. Now, if you guys are Colt fans, that you know that the Colt had some really epic albums that came out that preceded this album. Dreamtime was their first album. It really wasn't really a whole lot. It was right after Southern Death Cult,
Yeah.
whatever. And then there was the Colt Love, the Colt Electric,
Electric,
and
and
then Sonic
Sonic
Temple.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, come on. That
Boom.
was
Okay.
kaboom.
So
Yeah.
when Sonic Temple came out, it was high production. Bob Rock produced the album. It was
So
cutting edge at the time. 1989. like I tell you guys before, 1989 was the year. You had Faith No More, The Real Thing. You had Sonic Temple. You had The Cure's Disintegration. We had, and we could go back to '88. We had Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking, and it was just another epic album that came along with this. Well, what I'm going to hear is that what happened with the Cult after Sonic Temple, it was a rocket ride. The Love, Electric, Sonic Temple went through the roof,
Right.
and then '91 came around and Ceremony came here. They lost two of the members of the band.
Yeah, they did.
Jamie Stewart, their bass player from the inception of, I believe it was the Death Cult, Southern Death Cult 2, when they were still considered a progressive alt-rock band.
Right.
He left because he just got sick and tired of touring. He was done with it. He was over with it. And they had gone through some drummers, but Matt Sorum was the drummer during Sonic Temple. Well, he got offered to go to GNR and Guns N' Roses, and we know how that at that time Guns N' Roses were the biggest band in the world, so you have to leave the Cult.
Turner, you know.
So,
Yeah.
which left Ian Astbury and Billy Duffy, the only two remaining members. Ian Astbury being the vocalist, Billy Duffy being the lead guitars and rhythm guitar player for the Cult, was the only remaining member. On this album, they brought in studio musicians, to fill in the bass and drum work on here. Yeah, and they brought in Tommy Funderburk on backing vocals, who on Boston's Walk On album was one of the lead vocalists on that album. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah. Well, anyway, getting back to what I was saying here is that Richie Zito was the producer of this album. Obviously, he was no Bob Rock. And then what we got to doing a little research on this album, Billy Duffy and Ian Astbury were kind of at odds. They lost two very big important members, and so they were recording this album, the two of them, not even seeing each other. Billy Duffy would come and do the guitar parts, Ian Astbury did the vocals, and they never saw each other because it was all just basically a separate project. So they released this album, and from what looking back on this and doing my studying on this is that they tried to make a Sonic Temple Part 2 from Ceremony. And you can't duplicate something that was that big. They were trying to cash in on what brought
Sonic
them,
Temple,
okay?
yeah.
And without Bob Rock either, okay? I know a lot of people do not like Bob Rock, but what Bob Rock does brings is a high production quality, and
He
it's
sells records.
He sells records.
He
And-
ruins bands, but
Yeah.
he sells records.
Yeah.
So anyway, without Bob Rock, that's what they were trying to do. So the album itself never reached any higher than number 25 in the U.S. charts, but it did achieve platinum status. It reached number 9 in Canada, and but the problem was in 1991. Guess what was coming? The inception of in grunge. So pretty much that's what tackled that album. Now a nice little tidbit about this album was. There's a little Indian boy on the cover of the album, as you can see this. This picture was taken, we don't know how long ago, but the Cult took the picture and put it on their album without looking up to see who the boy was, asking anybody, anything, any information about it. And so as they released this album with this little boy's picture on it, well, the family said, "What?" And the boy said, "What? This is my picture on this album cover without any... right?
So-
The family, well, he was already grown up by the time this album came
Right.
out. He was working as like a janitor at a public school somewhere on some Indian reservation in South Dakota.
Not anymore.
I don't know. Yeah, well, we don't really know because they were the band, and I don't know if it was the band and the record company both. They were sued for $61 million, and we don't know what the settlement was or what the dollar figure came out of this.
Right.
So obviously, when that happens, there's a collision course of disaster for this album to come out.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
with that being said, like I said, the album itself, they never released the album in certain countries. In South Korea, in Thailand, they didn't see this album, even though it was a '91 release. It never came to their country until 1992, and the album itself in Turkey was never released until they made a deal with the Turkish government to come in and perform live.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
So,
So.
like, you're not going to release. Come play for us live, please?
Yes, it wasn't until they acknowledged coming to Turkey and playing live shows in Turkey where they were. Then Ceremony was then sold in stores wherever.
Wow. Maybe Turkey was, like, huge fans of that album.
So to give you, maybe
That's why I got the platinum certification.
So a couple of other things was the recording session musicians on this album was Mickey Curry on drums and Charlie Drayton on bass, and then they had various other artists that came in and filled parts in. And that's basically pretty much in a nutshell what this album contained. I know I kind of fly through this kind of stuff,
yeah.
but I always try to give like a lot of information in a small amount of time.
Right.
I know, and you guys are just kind of looking at me going, okay, is he ever going to shut his mouth?
No, I mean-
so,
No, because we usually just blabble the whole
Yeah,
time.
we
so-
Right.
Look at what happened with mine.
so 1991 Ceremony. The album before that obviously was 1989's Epic Sonic Temple, and then 93 they came out with like a greatest collaboration or whatever it was called Pure Cult. I don't know how that did. I didn't look it up. But that in a nutshell, that's that album. So that's
Ceremony has one of my favorite cult songs, Wild Hearted Son.
it was a good song.
It's a great song. That's the only one I can name off that album.
yeah.
You know, here's the thing, and I would consider myself a pretty big Cult fan, and I think I pretty much own everything they have from them except for the newest one, Choice of Weapon or whatever it was. I even have that terrible album, Born Into This. What a train wreck! But anyway, I listened to this album when I'm downstairs painting stones
Yeah.
and doing my thing.
And the Hodge Park Multimedia
Yeah,
Studio.
Hodge Park Multimedia Studios, and it's just one of the things. It was like they tried to carbon copy everything they did off of Sonic Temple to where it was. I mean, this is so far beyond original because Sonic Temple was so original.
Right,
You know,
so-
it was like this. It almost felt like fourth tier, fifth tier type stuff. It wasn't even second tier. You know. That's about it, guys.
I mean, so going into this album, you think they just had the idea of, oh, let's just, if it's not broke, don't fix it. 'cause it's
Exactly.
post-Sonic
Right.
Temple.
And you know, who knows how many years they were in recording this album.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things about it, after this album, you know, they broke up for a time, and then Ian Astbury went to the Doors, to the original members of the Doors,
Yeah.
and started doing, you know, the Doors. Ian Astbury doing Jim Morrison's vocals. So, and that's what he was. I mean, it was a broken band when Sorum and Stewart left, and it was just basically Billy Duffy and a couple of session musicians. They were just trying to put an album out there and try to cash in on it, and that time had already passed. Man.
Yeah, I saw the Cult twice on in support of Sonic Temple, and to say that they were Sonic is to say that, you know, just to give them nothing. They were opening for Metallica once, and they headlined the second time, and amazing shows both. They just killed. Amazingly, it was an amazing time. To be amazing.
Hold on, I think we rang that bell more than we said any fucking curse words. So that's hey. So, but no, I mean, these are times when, you know, I wish I would have been like your guys' age, being able to go see that stuff.
I mean,
so.
dude,
Do you
But
feel
you know,
me,
my
Kurt?
thing is,
You feel me?
I think I even commented on something on the page. I am a much bigger fan of Billy Duffy's than even Slash.
Really?
I think Billy Duffy is for the just bass bluesy ass guitar in your
Yeah.
face. He plays those great big huge Gresh White Falcons.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he is not afraid of, you know, getting right in your face. Big huge Marshall stacks, you know, and he's a coxman, and then just to watch him play was amazing.
right.
Shit.
That,
Well, and that's the thing, was like he was always used that Falcon even when they were considered an like 120 minutes alternative band. When
Well,
they-
remember in the what's the video from Electric?
Little Devil,
No,
Wildflower.
no.
I've run it on. I think it was only two valid.
I don't remember. But yeah, he's got that. He jumps down off the amplifier, and he's in front of it, and he's playing that great big white Falcon. And I remember as a young,
Love Removal Machine.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
That was off Love, right?
Love.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Wrong album, but yes, I mean, as a young guitar player, to see that big, huge guitar, you know, and to think, oh my gosh, that is bad as heck, you know, to think, oh my, I would want to play one of those, you know, and then to actually get to play one, you know, and see what they're all about. It was pretty cool. So
all right. Well,
Basically, I would have to say, you know, if I was giving a synopsis, is a band that was looked over by way too many, and for the body of work that what they did, there was always something bigger than they were, and they had all this great music off Love and Electric, and it was.
And Ian Astbury was one of the best frontmen of all time.
Yeah.
I mean,
by
he
far.
just, he was a Coxman too.
All right. Well, hey guys, thank you for bringing all your picks and always worth new listens and hopefully our listeners and our people on the page agree. And again, man, hey, dude, Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you guys
Oh,
so
man,
much. This
seriously.
was so much fun.
And hopefully we'll do it again, man. And
I would love to do it again. I mean, like I said, between my brother and Aaron and myself and my sister, actually my sister Victoria, if we were to go against us on Rock and Roll Jeopardy, you would lose.
Okay, I'm
Lose
sure I will.
all day long. So
What if we had Greg?
That'd be
What if we
fun.
had Greg Thompson?
What if we had
on
Greg
our side?
Thompson?
bring it.
He was on our corner.
okay, Greg, he's got a
Greg, you hear that?
Thanks, my boy. For sure.
Well, again, man, thanks a lot. And we're hoping to get your brother and hey, maybe your sister on soon.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
It'd be like a whole family episode.
Yeah,
That'd
maybe
be very
Family
cool.
Feud of rock
That'd be
and roll.
very cool. She'd want to bring up the Bee Gees though.
All right.
Just be prepared.
Spirits flying or whatever that album
Just
was.
spirits having flown.
Have you flown? Whatever.
Good times, man. Good times.
be prepared.
We will be. I'm sure we'll be flustered and be made to look like I'll probably cry at the end of it.
Right.
But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. And again,
Thank you so much.
Your posts on the page are awesome, and we always encourage that. What do you say? Frequently and aggressively is.
Well, I'm going to go with another comment. This is one phrase from Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks is
My boy.
death, jail, or rock and roll.
Right on.
Oh, hold on, wait a second. We're not finishing the show. Hold on. We're not finishing the show because we are going to say now that we, Nez, you've been posting and Turner, you've been sharing that we'll have shirts available.
Oh,
right? That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
No.
You didn't say that what we're
I'm
soliciting.
sorry. Yeah, no, we are.
I'll go back to the Michael Monroe thing again.
Yeah, we are in the process
Yes.
of getting a limited run of T-shirts for the Side C podcast.
Yes, and it's going to have our sponsors,
Yep.
Mr. Mitchell Woods at Rolling Smoke,
Yes.
and the pool man Mark Reedy
Yep.
for all your in-ground and above-ground pool needs. And we are looking to possibly, sell these nice quality T-shirts for $15 a piece
yeah.
if there's anybody that's interested in it. And Victor and I, and we haven't talked about this. Talked to you this about this, Jake, about possibly doing maybe a Side C podcast, Quad City Music Lovers, Collectors, and Traders appreciation type ordeal, maybe up at Radical Effect Bar, and and maybe do something like that. And so we have people that are all over the area here, but we really don't know them personally. And
That would be cool.
No, don't say it. It would be amazing. Anyways, but yes, T-shirts and
yeah, that'd be
and
awesome to be there.
And Nar City Graphics.
Nar City, they're helping us out, and Andrew Guy up there. I'm wearing one of the Nar City shirts right now, aka Dream Eater shirts, and we're really excited because the shirts are going to be beneficial for everybody. Not only do they look good, but they serve a great purpose because it's our little source of income that we want to try to get this thing going. Right now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. We were just doing it off my iPhone. It sounds great for the phone.
Yeah.
And with J Cube, Jeff Heineman's production going with it. Thanks for helping us out, Jeff. And our logo, by the way, Aubrey Downey Jr.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
I call her Downey Jr. because, anyways, but she did an awesome job with the graphic. But yeah, this all helps out to do something bigger and maybe even get more professional sounding and maybe even try to take over the world. But we'll see. We'll get to that.
We're
point.
evidently we're going places.
We are with the new fans again.
Yeah,
thank you,
thank you.
to
Hopefully,
everybody.
It'd be kind of cool if somebody actually would be listening to this, like in Belgium.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
it would be cool. So thank you to all the new listeners.
Or
I know-
Mylan.
Or Mylan.
Yeah, Mylan, yeah.
Or Rob Delavier in Hampton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim and Renee and a bunch of people that joined this week. But thank you guys for supporting us and doing what we can. And if you're interested in one of the T-shirts, make sure you get at us on the page or through a
We're gonna
message.
ship, right? Are we
Yeah,
gonna
well,
ship
Derek,
Yeah, we
Derek
should.
Johnson, my fraternity brother, he lives up in Minnesota now, and he said, Des, Are you gonna ship? I said, man,
Flat
you know
rate.
it, man.
Yeah,
go.
yeah, flat rate, shove in that little box, throw it away.
If
Definitely.
it fits, it ships, and it usually works like that. So again, so that they will have our sponsors, Rolling Smoke Barbecue in Rock Island, Pool Man Mark Reedy. The number will be on the shirt, and we always like to plug them. So again, thank you to Matt for joining us.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
again.
Pride
so
of
much.
Barstow, of course. Nez here. Skeleton Key. Again, thank you,
Yeah.
Skeleton
My old
Key.
friend John Vanderwally.
John Vanderwall,
Yes.
John and Brandy Vanderwally. Thank you for hosting us. 520 18th Street, Rock Island, Illinois. Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook, and don't forget to like our page on Facebook, Quad City Music Lovers, fans, collectors, and traders.
Music lovers, collectors, and traders.
traders, yes.
We'll get it eventually.
Well, I will get it.
How hard is this?
Just get like tattooed on the inside of your arm.
Two
You
and a
can
half
just read it
months of doing
off.
this now.
QCM, LTF, whatever, FFF.
This is
Well, and my parting shot on this one, I'm not going to use the Michael
Sure.
Monroe thing since I already ruined that one. But as
I
as
ruined
David Lee Roth
Yeah.
once said in concert, "Hey, who threw that? Who threw that? Hey, that's all right. I know who that is. I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend."
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. See you soon. That's